All right, shalom, shalom. First off, give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Akarkadash. The honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS. Salutes and honor to the elect, all the brothers across the four corners who are enduring in truth and sincerity, all the men and the women who follow. This is the brother Karatazai.
You call them out.
All right, from the Nebraska camp, coming back at you with another lesson. Lord's will, this is edifying. And, this one's just going into, how people and how society react during food shortages. We had a real good glimpse back in the sickness days. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't want to say the word. But, the shelves are empty, First, no toilet paper, no toilet paper in the stores. Then, perishable items, the canned goods, the noodles, and then everything else started getting scarce as well. So when famine, when resources get tight, people start reacting, and that's mainly what we want to get into with this lesson. Lord's will is edifying.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to get into this article on RT.com. It says, it's dated June the 26th of 2024. It says, world headed for food wars. Major commodities trader. Geopolitical tensions and protectionist policies have been exacerbating inflation globally, according to Olam Agri. It says,
Right. So all the geopolitics going on in the world is basically spearheading, inflation and famine. All right, because Russia is at odds with Ukraine, and NATO is backing the Ukraine, and then you have Israel and Iran, and everyone being mad at them for what they're doing against the Palestinians. Everybody's at odds, and everybody being at odds. You got the BRICS nations against the American dollar. Everybody's are at been doing that all day. Everybody is at odds with each other. So it's like I said, it's exacerbating. Let's get this word.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can pull it up in.
Okay, pull it up on here. So, okay. In the etymology, the word exacerbate, it says to increase the bitterness of virulence of, make a feeling, a conflict, etc., more hostile or more malignant.
Yeah, man, it's making things worse. It's just adding shit on top of shit.
Mm-hmm. To irritate or provoke.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That word was kind of.
Yeah. That's,
virulence, which virulence means full of poison, full of corrupt or poisonous matter.
Yeah, man, it's full of poison, man. And what is poison? Poison kills you. Whether it's slow or whether it's fast, but it's not a good end. Poison gets you sick. Poison is, nobody wants to be poisoned. So, all the geopolitical tensions, as it says, going on, is poisoning the world's economy. It's poisoning the food supply, not physically poison it, but poisoning how it's being dished out.
It makes me think of that scripture. I won't jump the gun. I'll read this. Getting back to the article, it says the world is facing quote-unquote food wars as geopolitical tensions have triggered a rise of protectionism amid concerns about waning supplies.
Yeah, man. So what that means is anyone who has something, they're not selling it, or if they are selling it, they're selling it for more. people are safeguarding their supplies. You know, if they know there's a famine coming or a food shortage coming, they want to make sure that them and their family is all right, or their country has food. You know, if you're growing, if your number one crop, say, is corn, you're not going to want to sell as much corn as you've been selling around the world because your population is going to need corn.
Exactly.
So those exports are going shorter and shorter.
Right. It says, according to one of the largest, it says, according to one of the largest global agricultural commodity traders, Olam Agri, as cited by the Financial Times on Wednesday, the Singapore-based trading house is part of the wider Olam Group, which operates in more than 60 countries and supplies food and industrial raw materials to 22,000 customers worldwide. He says, quote unquote, we have fought many wars over oil. We will fight bigger wars over food and water.
Right, because these are the principal things that you need to live. You know, food and water. Those are just the basics. And then when you take into account that the majority of the world lives on less than $1 a day, you know, if food is getting more expensive, well, how are people going to be able to afford it?
Yeah, they're gonna start taking shit, man.
Yeah, well, hey, shit, let's get it.
This is in the book of 2nd Ezra 15 and verse 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein.
Right, that woe meaning destruction, because destruction is nigh upon us.
For the sword and the destruction draweth nigh.
Hey, it's getting close.
Yeah.
You know, the sword, you know, this man coming down with a heavy fist, you know, throwing some of us in prison, setting up his so-called New World Order, Great Reset, whatever they want to call it or bill it as. All right, these times are coming close. Jacob's trouble is right around the corner.
That's right. It says, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands.
And you have all these opposing forces right now. It's not a coincidence, you know. He is setting it up like that. You know, you got all these debates on men against women, you know, the 99 against the 1%, you know, the so-called black against the so-called white. You know, everybody is divided right now. Mm-hmm. Why? Because the divided house shall not stand. You know, everybody's at odds with each other, then they're going to be easier to take down. It's like going back to Game of Thrones. You know, King Robert was talking to Cersei, and he said, "What's more, 5 or 1?" And she said 5. You know, he held up 5 fingers, and then he made it into a fist, because that one unified unit is stronger than 5 individual fingers. So if there's those 5 people come together, they're tougher to deal with than 5 individual, you know, people. All right, go ahead.
It says, excuse me. It says, for there should be sedition among men invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the house of their action shall stand in their power.
Yeah, man, the course of their action shall stand in their power, man. It's going to be a sedition, people, you know, going against the government. You know, Trump is coming back into office, and it's a lot of talk of him, you know, canceling the Constitution or trying to get a 3rd term, you know, being a dictator. And they're openly saying this now. No, we were saying this before, but they're openly doing commercials on this stuff. All right? So, hey, it's predictive programming, man. All right? It's some big things that's about to happen. All right?
Excuse me, some water. It says, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able.
Yeah, and, you know, that's martial law, you know. Go ahead.
For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid.
You know, just I always think about the road when we read this scripture, because people are not going to want to be out like that, all right? the city's going to be dangerous, or just like in The Walking Dead, they wanted to get out of the city. Because, of course, there was a lot more people, so you had a lot more walkers. But even if it's not a so-called zombie alert situation, people equal danger, because we're reading about the desperation of people, and the more people there are, the more desperate people there are, the more likely you are to get got.
That's right. Yep. It says a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor.
Yeah, anybody gonna have no pity on nobody in that day. That's why it's gonna be dangerous in the city. And it says your neighbor is gonna, your neighbor's not gonna have no pity on you. So if you got a house full of starving kids, your neighbor might come in and take what a little you do got. Yeah. And if you can't defend yourself in them times, guess what? You ain't gonna do nothing but be a victim. It's gonna be a lot of victims out here. All right, if you ain't got the protection of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, all right, when this Jacob's trouble kicks off, you're just gonna be another victim.
Yeah, and a lot of the victims, there's gonna be victims of all ages, all ethnicities, and sexes too. But the nigga woman is definitely she's not gonna be protected, man.
No.
You can look how she's treating the men that are trying to protect her, right? She's independent. They were so reliant on the government. But when the government goes to shit, you had already burned the bridges with all the men, and now shit is getting hectic, and you can't protect you and your 5 kids.
Now you want to call on Tyrone.
Yeah, So yeah, be very afraid,
right.
To everyone. It says a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation.
Yeah, man, for the lack of bread and great tribulation. So we're reading about how, these food supplies aren't going to be coming in as steady. All right, so if you can see the forest for the trees, if you can see the bigger picture, then you will be doing something about it now. But our people don't give no fuck. Mm-hmm. You still got people, joining the military, not knowing that World War III is right around the corner. People gonna get drafted, so they're probably going anyways. But you're volunteering,
right?
And then I was there's this chick I got on social media, and she was like, "Well, what's going on that?" She said, "What's going on that's so bad that they might have to start drafting people?" So you have no clue about the beef between Russia and America. Why? Because it's not Bad Girls Club.
Yeah.
Because it's not Drake versus Kendrick. Because it's not Sexy Red.
Yeah, this is not something that's hidden. This is all over.
Right. And
shit.
And this is in the mainstream media. But our people don't care. Our people would rather party and bullshit. So guess what? They're going to eat the fruit of their way. Hey, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy his house with the sword, right, and spoil their goods. Hey, and you women are going to be a spoiling that day as well. Yeah. A prize to be had.
I just thought about that.
Hey, somewhere small like Omaha, everybody know everybody in Omaha. Omaha's a big city, but Omaha's not a big city at all. All the Judah stay on the north side. So, you probably gonna run into some Facebook friends, somebody you might have slid in her DMs. She denied you, and you gonna see her in that day, and she gonna look at you like a meal ticket. But that same man might look at her like a meal ticket. But 2 totally different ways. And that's just being real, just being honest. It's not being out of the line or anything like that. That's, we have to tell the people what may happen, what is going to happen. And that's a real deal scenario. So if you ain't protected by the Lord,
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 3 and verse 17. It says, "Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore hear the word at my mouth and give them warning from me." Warn
the people. You got something to say?
Because just like what the brother was saying, is the things that are going on in the news with with Russia and Ukraine and these different nations going back and forth, and America being in the mix, right? Like I said, the prophets have been prophesying about that from the very beginning of it, and prophesying what's going to happen. You see it coming to pass, and then you, like the brother mentioned, a lot of women are going to be spoiled. A lot of people are going to be essentially unalive because you didn't take heed to the warning that was given by the prophets through the spirit of Yahweh Shemel Shai.
Yeah.
We're not on the corners of putting up videos just because, hey, this is fun. No, it's like, this is deadly serious.
Yeah. And
we ought to blow that trumpet, But if you're not dancing to that song, you're gonna have to bear the tribulation, man. That's all I want to say as far as that, bro.
Okay. We can get back to that article.
Okay. All right, getting back to the article, I'll read this quote again. It says, "We have fought many wars over oil. We will fight bigger wars over food and water." Olam Agri's chief executive, Sonny Verghese, was quoted as saying at the Redburn Atlantic and Rothschild Consumer Conference last week.
Hey, there's no coincidence, who's holding this conference. These people right here, I'm just going to make that big. You can see that right there in the center of the screen. Mm-hmm. Why? They're the elite. They're the ones that's pushing the narrative. Even if it's not true, they got the ability to hold all the industries back and only give out a portion. Let's say there is enough food and enough water. They can tell the businesses that they run, or that they have the power to shut down. Hey, only operate at 75%. Whatever you're doing at 100, slow down by 25% and push that out. And that's a famine. Because now 25% of the people who had food before are not going to have it. So what's that going to do? That's going to raise the price of food.
Yeah.
And if the price of food goes up, then that's more strenuous on your bank or on your personal bank account. So now, it's a domino effect. Matter of fact, I'll speak on this. It's like on a House of the Dragon, there wasn't a lot of, they had a blockade, so there's no new resources coming in. And the girl said, I had to walk 3 miles to find a chicken, and I had to pay 3 times the price for it. Because when there's a shortage, things are going to be scarce. So you may have to go further. You may not be able to go to that grocery store right around the corner. You may have to go all the way across town and pay double or triple what you normally would pay in those times. Because supply and demand, okay? When the supply is plentiful, okay, the prices are low. When the supply is short, you can demand a premium dollar for it. All right, it's more rare. So it will cost more. That's why like oxtails, before the pandemic, oxtails weren't that high, but during the pandemic, and it was that beef shortage, oxtails went from $8-9 to $24, and now that even beef is more plentiful now, they never went back down.
They just kept it there. Yeah. Says the CEO warned that trade barriers imposed by governments seeking to prop up domestic food stocks had exacerbated food inflation. According to the report, food prices started to climb in the wake of the pandemic and soared after the escalation of the Ukraine conflict and Western sanctions against Russia.
Yeah, man, like I said, all these, the pandemic, the war with Ukraine and Russia, all that is driving the food costs up. It's going to give a little bit more. I don't want to jump the gun.
Says the restrictions have resulted in some exports of grain and fertilizers being blocked.
Yeah, because Russia is the number one exporter of fertilizers around the world. So if they're not exporting that fertilizer, then guess what? There's a famine in fertilizer. There's a shortage on fertilizer. And if you can't use that fertilizer, what does that mean? That means you can't, if you're dependent on that fertilizer and you don't get it, that means you can't plant your crops. So if you can't plant your crops, there's going to be a shortage on whatever you're supposed to be sending out there as well. It's the domino effect.
Yep. It says deepening food insecurity in poor countries and exacerbating the cost of living crisis.
Right. It's making the cost of living crisis worse. Eggs are already high. Lunch meat high, milk is high, rent's going up, gas is high. Everything it's just getting worse. And this is in like America, a so-called first world country. Just think about how those third world countries, like I said, the people who survive on $1 a day, who already don't got nothing, now they got less. Yeah. Imagine, you got a family of three, you, your wife, and a child, and y'all normal meal, y'all split, like one plate of food. And now, through that, through everything that's going on, now y'all got to split like a half a plate of food. And then got to get up and toil the next day. This is the reality of what's going on. Just because we don't see it here in America doesn't mean it's not happening.
Yeah, I truly believe America, whenever this does come to America, it's going to be terrible because America is one of the most gluttonous fucking countries, man.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like I thought about like little storms that we've had here and there sporadically.
Yeah. Where
they be like, go to the store, get your food, because the roads are gonna be blocked. You'll have individuals. They're not going in and getting a specific ration for them and their family. They're getting over.
Yeah.
So what is that when one person is getting over? That's leaving somebody else short.
Yeah.
Right. So when it hits America, it's going to be crucial, man.
Well, let's get this here in Second Kings and just gives an example of what it's like to live in a famine. All right.
This book of 2 Kings 6 and verse 24. And it came to pass after this that Benhadad, king of Syria, gathered all his hosts and went up and besieged Samaria.
Right. So there was a siege in the region of Samaria, which means they circumvented it. Right. They completely surrounded it, so nothing can get in and nothing can get out. So whatever water you got, that's the water you got. Yep. Whatever food you got, that's the food you got.
It says, and there was a great famine in Samaria.
Yeah. So that's the workings of a famine, because when you siege a city like that, it's not for a day or a week. Mm-hmm. We're talking weeks upon weeks, months upon months, and they'll just wait you out. All right, and your supply lines won't be able to get to you.
That's what I'm saying. Starve them out.
Yeah, starve them out. That's what they did on Masada. That's what they did in Jerusalem. When they took down Jerusalem. Go ahead.
It says, and behold, they besieged it until an ass's head was sold for 80 pieces of silver, and the fourth part of a cab of dove's dung for 5 pieces of silver.
Right. You would buy some dove poop for 5 pieces of silver. And silver is very expensive.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
so that's it. I'm trying to put it in context. Let me see. Bumper shot, bear with me. Yeah, go ahead and read that one more time.
This is 2 Kings 6:25. This is NLT.
Yeah.
This is this is the NLT. It says, as a result, there was a great famine in the city. The siege lasted so long that a donkey's head sold for 80 pieces of silver, and a cup of dove's dung sold for 5 pieces of silver.
So, and that's not even legal food. You can't eat a donkey head. You know, that's not even within our law. But that's all they had to eat. It was donkey heads and dove dookie. All the legal food got eaten first.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, going back to Game of Thrones, you know, I'm a Game of Thrones watcher, you know what I'm saying? But Stannis Baratheon, he had to hold Storm's End down during the war. And he was like, you know, they ate all the food. Once they ate all the food, they said, we ate the horses first. You know? And then he was like, you know, I like dogs, but, you know, we ate the dogs next. And then, you know, we were, you know, getting ready to eat our leather. And then that's when the Onion Knight came with his onions, and he saved everybody, you know, with onions. And they were able to eat onions and, you know, make it through. But that's how desperate people get. You pay 80 pieces of silver. Let's see if we can get the value of that.
True resource, man. Silver, gold, those are the real money, you know. So it was like in this day and age, it's expensive, but back then, you know, that's the currency that they had, you know. Yeah, I definitely like to see the breakdown on that.
Let me see real quick.
But it kind of, you know, what I was getting at, kind of reminds me of like even now, you know, how they have convenience stores.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you'll have your regular market, which the food's still going up in there as well. But like you go to a convenience store, you don't think their shit is going up. So like the same bag of chips that you would get at the grocery store for, let's say, like the family size bag for $3.
Yeah.
You go down to a convenience store, you're gonna be paying about $6, almost $7 for that same bag of chips. You know, because like the brother said, it'd be well, you didn't say it, but you know, referencing it's convenient.
Yeah. You
know, and it's just going to continue to get more and more tighter. You know, that's something that the elder brother here says a lot. You know, and we see it happening. These things just getting more and more tighter until shit, all hell breaks loose, man.
Hey, hold on real quick. We're gonna pause this lesson real quick.